Bright Duty. Every student matters.
So let's begin the chapter with this. The first of all, who were Aryans? Who were they? According to the scholars, this is before this to start this. Who were the Aryans? The Vedic culture has played a very important role in our country. In the context of India, the Vedic culture has played a very important role. This is the credit of the development of the Vedic culture goes to the Aryans. Whom the historians, they have given this, the credit, the Aryans were given the credit for the development of the Vedic culture, for the formation of the Vedas. It is believed that the Aryans came to India from Iran or Central Asia. If you see the world map, Iran is in the Central Asia, and it is said that these Aryans came from the Central Asia or Iran, and what was the time period mentioned for that? 1500 BC, before Common Era. This is the before Common Era. They entered in our country. Either they were from the Iran or Central Asia, and they settled down in our country. The Indus Valley civilization declined at the time when Aryan came to India. One of the oldest civilization of the world is known as the Indus Valley civilization. And it is said that immediately after the decline of the Indus Valley civilization, these Aryans, they came to our country and they have started this Vedic culture in India. So now coming to this point about that, who were the Aryans? According to the scholars, or we can say that the historians, they have defined as the Aryans were a tribe of people who migrated to different parts of the world as life became difficult for them in their motherland. Might be due to the climatic condition, change in the climatic condition. Central Asia or Iran, it was very cold desert as well as the hot. So most of the people of the Central Asia, they were the nomadic tribes. They kept on moving from one place to another in search of that, the pastures, in search of that, the food, and they were also the traders and the businessmen. It is believed that they came from either Central Asia or Iran. They entered India probably through the passes. Passes means the gap between the mountains, which allows the people to move from this side to that side. So in the passes, most probably they entered our country because we have Central Asia means that the northern part of India, not western part of the India, where that part of our country is covered with Himalaya. Just like as a boundary, it protects our country. Hot and the cold wind blowing from the Central Asia, our country is getting protected with the help of the Himalayas. So it is also said that probably they entered in our country through the passes. They entered India probably through the passes of the Hindu Kush mountains. This is at the top. If you have the idea, or if we go through that the world map, we can see that where is the Hindu Kush mountain. When Aryans settled in India, they came to be known as the Indo-Aryans. The language they spoke was based on the Vedic Sanskrit, and it is called the Indo-Aryan language. Vedic Sanskrit was known as the Indo-Aryan language. So this is the myth about that, the introduction of the Aryans. Simply we can say that they came from either from Iran or Central Asia, from the western side of our country. Most probably they entered our country through the passes, and from where passes they have entered in our country through the Hindu Kush mountains, and they settled in India. The language which they spoke was the Sanskrit, Vedic Sanskrit, and after some times it has been started started calling those language which was spoken by the Aryans were the Indo-Aryan language. So this is about that the Aryans. And it is also said that the scholar says that they are scholars they have given their miss that the view they have depicted about that most probably with the end of the Indus Valley civilization immediately these Aryans they have entered in our country and the Vedic culture started. And time period is mentioned about the 1500 BC. Then the topic comes about that the Aryan civilization. It is believed that the Aryans were one of the most civilized and cultured races of the world, not only in India or in the Central Asia. Throughout the world, we can compare it. They were the most civilized and the cultured races. They came in small groups to live over a long period, and after coming, they first settled in Punjab, and later they moved to the region of the southeast and settled on the land between the rivers Ganga and Yamuna, means towards the eastward direction. Uttar Pradesh, from where this Ganga and Yamuna originated, they are from Uttar Pradesh. Ganga comes in the plain in Haridwar. It is now in Uttarakhand, but gradually it flows towards the eastward direction. Yamuna is also the same way. It also reaches in the plains and they flow towards the Uttar Pradesh, and this Yamuna river also tributes its water to Ganga at Allahabad. So this is about that the miss how these the Aryans they move towards the eastward direction right from Punjab towards the east. During their settlement, the Aryan had to face resistance from the original inhabitants. Originally, might be they have in India also, some of the inhabitants, the natural inhabitants of the Indians were there. So these, the original people, the original inhabitants, they have started resisting, to resist them, to move them away from their land. So what happened about them? The Aryans had to face resistance from the original inhabitants of India, whom they called Dasas or Dasyus. This is the term which is used by the Aryans. The culture of Dasyus was different from that of the Aryans. The original inhabitant of the Indians, they were now known as either Dasas or Dasyus. And both they were different in their culture. As the time passed, the Aryans occupied the whole of the northern India. They have captured the entire northern India. Entire northern India means the above the Tropic of Cancer. It is like that the Tropic of Cancer divides India into two equal halves. The upper part of the Tropic of Cancer, we have the northern India. And their settlements extended from the Himalayas to the Vindhya mountains. Right from the north, we have Himalayan mountains, and this is below the Tropic of Cancer. Just look at on the map of India, you can get the idea about the Vindhya mountain. So this is their settlements extended from the Himalayas to the Vindhya mountains. The region was named by them as Aryavart, meaning the land of the Aryans. So the part between the Himalaya and the Vindhya mountain, they have started calling it Aryavart. Means that the land of the Aryans. So this is about that the lifestyle of the Aryans. These two pictures are showing over here how they face the resistance by the Indians. Then what type of the life they have started. This is showing the picture of the Vedas. This is how they are protecting, and uh, the people in their group. This is about the social life. Agriculture practices was also started doing by them for their survival. Then it is about that the sources, what we have the sources, how we are knowing about that, the Aryan civilization or the Vedic civilization. So first of all, it has been divided into the two parts, archaeological sources and the literary sources. So first of all, we are coming to discuss about that, the literary sources. So in this period, already we are discussing this Aryan civilization, also known as the Vedic civilization. So why it is known as the Vedic civilization? Now come to discuss about that. As per literary sources, the Vedas, which is we have the altogether four Vedas. Oldest one is the Rig Veda, followed by Sam Veda, Yajur Veda, and the Athar Veda. These are the most important scripts written by the Aryans, and it is considered as a literary evidences. These Aryans, these Vedas, they provide a complete picture of the life and culture of the Vedic civilization. Everything about their day-to-day life, the entire thing is mentioned in the Vedas. The Vedas contain hymns in praise of the Vedic gods. Vedic gods means that all the natural gods like earth, like sun, nature, water, then fire, Agni, all they are praised by the people in the Vedic age. Among all these four Vedas, the Rig Veda is the oldest one and is the chief source of the information about the Aryans. Whatever we are getting the idea about the Aryans, it is mentioned and explained in the Rig Veda. Other than the Vedas, the Brahmans, the Aryanakas, the Upanishads were also imperative piece of the early Vedic literature. Purans were there, Aryankas were there, Upanishads are also been written by the Brahmans, which gives us the entire or the detailed idea about that, the Vedic civilization, and these are the Vedic literature which give us the idea about that, the people during the Vedic age. The Ramayana and the Mahabharata are the two great epics of the Vedic literature. Vedic literature here means that the Sanskrit literature. Even though the Ramayana, which is written by Maharshi Valmiki, and Mahabharata, written by sage Vedvyas, this is Maharshi Valmiki, and this is by sage Vedvyas. This is about that the Rig Veda, which is most probably composed during the period of the 1500 to 600 BCE. What is the time period mentioned for this? 1500 BCE to 600 BCE. This is the time period mentioned for the Rig Veda, and it has been considered as the Vedic age. This entire time period between the 1500 BCE to 600 BCE, this time period is considered as the Vedic age. It is said that all the four Vedas were created or composed during this time period only. So this is the first source through which we are learning or we are knowing about that, or we can study about that, who were the Aryans and how this Aryan civilization was flourished during this period. Second source is about that, the archaeological evidences. After the excavations, whatever the evidences were collected or the evidences were found at the site of the civilization, that is known as the archaeological evidence. The archaeologists, they are supposed to excavate the sites, they try to find out the facts and to tell about that the facts of about that the early civilizations, or on the basis of that the evidences they try to reconstruct the history. So according to this archaeological evidences, archaeologists, they this is which is also available from the Ganga Valley and recently from the Hastinapur and Atranji Khera. These are the two sites where the so many evidences are found in the recent days. They throw light, these archaeological evidences, they throw light on the art and craft of the Vedic period. What type of the art and craft productions were done by them? So many of the facts, many of the evidences were collected by the group of the archaeologists in recent years. Among them, what type of the artifacts they have found? Pottery they found, the painted grey ware. This is the painted grey ware is there. This is, and the black red ware have been found at various places which are related to the Aryans. So now our historians, now they have what they did. They have now defined the Vedic culture into two different periods. They have divided the Vedic period into the two different parts. One, they have considered it as an early Vedic period, and the other one is about the later Vedic period. Early Vedic period, time period is mentioned from the, what they are mentioning the time period, it is from the 1500 to 1000 BC. And the later Vedic period, it is from 1000 it ended, so it starts from the 1000 BC to 600 BC. And the entire time period, right from the 1500 to the 600 BC, it is called the Vedic age. When we segregate the time period, the first one 1500 to 1000, it says about that the early Vedic period. Then from the 1000 BC to 600 BC, it gives the idea about the later Vedic period. So now, what is the early Vedic period? Why they have divided it into the two groups? Early Vedic period is also known as Rig Vedic age, because only Rig Veda was composed at this time, which is very much a valuable source of information of early Vedic period. Only and only one Veda was composed at that time, which was Rig Veda. And this was only one of the literary sources available, or it gives the valuable, means the information, or considered Rig Veda is considered as the valuable source of information of early Vedic period. Next, it comes about that the later Vedic period. So what is the later Vedic period? At the beginning of this period, people knew the use of the iron, and what they were calling it, shamis, as it is black metal. It's a Sanskrit term. Shyam means black. So this is the black metal which was used for cleaning the dense forest. It is harder than the copper. And this iron was been used to make the tools, and these tools were used to clear the dense forest and to develop the area for the settlement. In this age, other three Vedas, which is known as Samveda, Yajurveda and Atharvaveda, were also composed. In early, only one Rig Veda. In later, all the three Vedas were composed. The Ramayana and Mahabharata and some of the Purans were also composed in this age. Not only this, all the three Vedas, but other than that, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and some of the Purans. Some part of the Purans were also composed in this age. This is actually the important sites of the and the extent of the Aryan civilization. First of all, it is given about that this green color, that this a bit dark green, this is what it says, that 1500 to 1000 BC. This time period, 1500 to 1000 BC. The region inhabited by early Vedic people, and this is known as Sapta Sindhu. This area is the early Vedic age, developed during the 1500 to 1000 BC, and this region was called as Sapta Sindhu by the Aryans. Then this is the later Vedic age. This is early Vedic period. And this is later Vedic period. Later Vedic period, what is the time period mentioned for that? Here, 1000 BC to 600 BC. So what it says, that the region inhabited by later Vedic people and the direction of movement from Sapta Sindhu to Ganga Valley. Can see that the arrow marks are also given over here. So this way they have started moving. The movement is from the west to east. With this, Indraprasth was the major city, Ayodhya was the major city, Kosala was also the major city. If we discuss about that, the early Vedic period, this is Peshawar, Takshila, Harappa. So these are the sites for the early Vedic period, and these are the sites for the later Vedic period. This is then the international and the national boundaries are also being shown over there, which is not in the context of the chapter. So this is about that, the 1500 to 1000 early Vedic culture, and the later is 1000 to 600 BC.